Style for Life. I'm Stephanie Rumble, fashion stylist, accountability coach, and your guide to feeling good in your body and your clothes. Based in Christchurch, New Zealand, I bring over 3 decades of experience in fashion, fitness, and wellness to help you feel strong, stylish, and self-assured. Together we'll explore the emotional, physical, and practical sides of style, because true confidence starts from within. No matter your age or size, you deserve to feel confident and show up as the best version of you. I truly believe this. This is Style for Life. Hi everyone, and welcome to the podcast today. I have to say, I'm sitting here recording a day early today because I've got a big week ahead, and I'm just thinking how cold it is here in Christchurch and feeling a little like, about that. It's been freezing cold summer. We really haven't had much of it, and I have to say that is quite challenging. Anyway, we are here and I'm still in short sleeves, which is a good thing, I suppose, but my heater is going. So I want to acknowledge always everybody who listens to the podcast. One of the things that's really blown me away recently is how many of you are continuing to listen, how many more people are jumping on board, and you must be sharing it. So I just want to encourage you, please, to hit the follow button so that you can follow the podcast, and then it always will pop up on your feed and you can always see what's going on. So I am super grateful to you, and it's what keeps me going and makes this keep working too. So today, I have been thinking a lot about this topic, and I talk about it quite a bit when I do my leadership education, which I do for the New Zealand Institute of Management and Leadership, which is amazing. And it comes up so much in my life, and it's come up so much in the lives of other people and the people I observe, work with, live with, etc. And I've titled today's podcast, "What is Human Capacity and How Do You Measure Yours?" So I suppose that's what I'm going to talk about, is capacity. And it's about how much can you handle? And do you really want to handle that much as well? I really have observed over the years and the time that I've been working in these areas, how capacity can be dialed up and dialed down. So there can be times where you have more capacity and times where you have less. And some people have a lot of capacity to handle a lot of things in their life, do a lot of things, take a lot of things on, and some people have less. And I just want everyone to understand here that there's no judgment around this. This is purely just about making sure that you are okay and checking in with you so that you can figure out what your capacity might be. So human capacity refers to the total multidimensional potential within individuals. It encompasses things like physical capacity, so how able you are to do things, mental capacity, emotional capacity, and social ability, and your ability to act, create, and solve problems. Also sort of represents the sum of skills and experience that drive performance and personal development. When you think about how capacity is built, it's built on a pyramid of physical health, emotional stability, mental acuity, and purpose. So I think just coming to each of those things too, it's really good to think a little bit about each one. So we'll go through each of those and really look at how they work. So if we look at the dimensions of capacity, and I'll come to how this all works. And I know this is quite deep, but I think it's important to understand where your capacity is and where it might not be. So, for example, my physical capacity is really large. Like I have quite a large physical capacity. It's quite deep, and I have a lot of ability to do a lot of physical things. I've built up the skills for that over time. So it includes, again, physical strength and well-being, mental acuity and emotional resilience, and social connection. It's the innate ability to think, learn, educate, and communicate. And we often discuss human capacity in development. So how much capacity have we developed? And again, it depends on the area that we're developing, and it's influenced by our environment. So what's happening around us, who are we socializing with? What's happening in our world? Our cultural lens. So our cultural lens may lend itself to more capacity or less, and our social systems like our education and health. So how how much education have we got? How good is our health? And how is our health now? Like, are we actually just not very well? Which will reduce our capacity. We'll have got other distractions that really impact your ability to develop to your work and, execute to your full potential. And I think also it's the ability to adapt, learn, grow, and achieve really good performance, peak performance when you're under pressure. So, how long is it going to take before you're going to break or fall apart or something's going to happen? So, yeah. And again, we've looked at all of the things that kind of come into this, like physical, mental, emotional ability to make decisions, manage tasks, and all of these things all work together. So if we start off, first of all, at looking at our biological and health factors. So I know myself, when I am not 100%, there's two ways in which our physical health can be affected. One is with chronic illness, and the other is with physical limitations, like we might have broken something or we might have some pain from something that's not working properly. So if we think about, first of all, chronic illness, if you are experiencing chronic illness and it is quite overwhelming and consuming, and I do know how this feels. I don't know if you are aware that last year when I travelled, I had an amazing trip with my son and husband and my son's girlfriend. I ended up getting COVID, and then I got salmonella poisoning. And then I also had an ear infection. All of those things were illnesses. So my capacity to do anything very much was very, very limited. And then I know, for example, at the moment, my beautiful mother, who's 80, has really bad hip pain. She's waiting on the list for a hip replacement, which will happen in a few weeks' time. And she is in chronic pain. And so that is really limiting her capacity to do anything and impairing her ability, her energy. And also, when it happens to happen to me, it too also can impair your cognitive functions. Your cognition can be impacted by pain or by illness. So I know there's actually your brain health as well. So your brain health can, again, affect your capacity. And brain health is things like dementia and Alzheimer's, acquired brain injury, neurodegenerative disorders. Those things can all impact your mental capacity. So that's where your brain health is affected. So again, and all of these things mean that your world can get a bit smaller. Yeah. And it's really interesting as we get older, because I think our capacity just generally declines. So we're sitting here in the physical health area. So I'm just going to throw in here too that from personal experience and observation of others in my demographic group, I see that as our hormones decrease and decline, and we experience things associated with that, like menopausal symptoms like brain fog, that can impact our capacity too. So there's a whole complex web of biological and physical health factors that come together to impact our capacity to be able to cope. So again, if you're in chronic pain, it's really hard to focus on anything else. Just on that one too, just under the physical factors, sleep and diet. So I have just figured out, I'm really on the back foot here, how to use my Garmin watch to track my sleep score, because I've been having sleep disruption and disturbances intermittently since I had COVID in 2022, which is about 4 years ago. So, really can affect your capacity. So sleep and diet. So lack of adequate sleep and poor nutrition can directly affect cognitive processing, focus and emotion regulation. So, that whole thing of how you handle your emotions can be very directly related to what you're putting into your body and how much you're sleeping. So there's so much evidence out there that shows us that vegetables, fruit, and good quality proteins and fats are literally the diet to have. And I just know this so much from working with all my accountability people. And we have so many temptations in terms of distracted, ultra-processed foods. Anyone getting off on a tangent? So sleep and diet have an impact on our physical capacity. Aging. Yeah. It just, unfortunately, and I definitely experience this, affects our physical and our cognitive capacities. Although it also brings experience. So, age brings you experience and you start to know your limitations, but your capacity decreases as you age. And I just mentioned that before in relation to hormone profile. But I think also just in terms of general aging, even if you're not greatly affected by the hormone thing, 100% you can be affected by aging. Some people's happen really quickly. I notice this, they start to do less because they feel like they can't do it. And I think sometimes in all of our worlds, it's about how we can stretch ourselves, and we'll get to that. Oh, substance use. So drugs and alcohol impair cognitive function, judgment, and decision-making capabilities. And all of this has come from the World Health Organization, by the way. So alcohol and drugs can impair your cognitive function and reduce your physical capacity to be able to cope. So in a crisis, that can be a bit of an issue. So that was number one. That was physical, biological and physical factors which affect your capacity. The next is psychological and emotional factors. And there's quite a number of these too. So if we start off looking here at stress and burnout. There's so much research out there around stress, and it's something that I'm always grappling with because I love to have a really full life. And then how far do you go before you get pushed into stress, and how is that, and how do you weigh that up? So prolonged exposure to stress causes psychological capacity compression, and I totally relate to this. So psychological capacity compression, which means that your capacity just reduces, right? And that's related to stress and burnout. So if you have got a lot of stress going on in your life, or you feel like you're getting close to burnout, it's really important to listen to those signals and think, how can I cut things out of my life? And I know for myself, my life's been really busy over the last 4 weeks. Well, it's always really busy, but particularly so because I've taken on a new project with Training Fashion Stylists, which is epic, and I love it. But it's just stretched me a bit more, which has meant that I've felt like my stress levels have been a little higher. So I've now put some time in my calendar towards the end of their training to have less clients and less contact time, so I can actually take some recuperation time because I can sense that I need it. And I've also got some whānau members that are going to need some help with their medical bits and pieces. So looking at all of that. So prolonged exposure to stress causes psychological capacity compression, leading to reduced resilience, mental fatigue and burnout. Okay, so really, really important to take that into consideration. Mental health conditions actually also affect psychological and emotional effect of capacity. So depression, anxiety and psychosis, they can impair your concentration, memory and decision making. So, if you do have any of those mental health conditions, understand that your capacity will be diminished. And I've definitely observed this amongst people I know who have suffered from these kind of conditions, or are managing, let's not say suffered, let's say are managing their life with these conditions. How about trauma? So early exposure to trauma. So if you were exposed to trauma in your early life, can lead to a long-term reduction in cognitive and emotional resilience. So you just don't have the capacity to deal with things that other people do because you haven't had that really easy start in life. Well, not easy start, but you haven't had the same start in life as other people. So all of these things can be built up and relearned. That's the great thing about our brain. Our brain is what we call plastic, not in the way that plastic like the plastic of my phone cover, but plastic in terms of the fact it can be molded and changed. So trauma can lead to a reduction in capacity. And then you've just got personality traits, like a high level of neuroticism, which is emotional instability, can reduce capacity. So you just might not have that ability to juggle loads of things. Well, if you're really, really conscientious and you really want to get things done, you're really working towards that, that high level of high conscientiousness and emotional stability can act as protective factors. So if you are really keen to get things done really well, that can help decrease neuroticism or emotional instability. So there's things that you can counterbalance with. So if you do have that emotional instability, a bit more conscientiousness can help you to be a little bit more resilient in that area. So cognitive and mental load. So and sometimes this happens. So we have such a full-on environment around us nowadays. We have things coming at us all the time, particularly on social media, short form videos. We can instantly communicate with somebody and we can get cognitive and mental overload, right? And we call it infoxication, right? It's the modern always on digital environment that leads to excessive information. It causes cognitive overload, which reduces our ability to focus, learn, and make decisions. So you've just got stuff happening all the time. And so I find what I do is I switch my phone to do not disturb for long periods of time during the day when I'm trying to focus, when I'm trying to record one of these, of course, and also when I'm working with a client or when I'm actually doing education work, because it means that I can actually focus on the person and really stay out of overload. Because I can tell you now that if you are doing education work or you're doing some work and then you check your emails and something in the emails is a bit tricky and it pops up, how do you stop yourself going into an emotional reaction around that and then the whole thing blows up? So I just really strongly encourage you to really listen to most current research, which tells us that short form videos, watching and always being on social media, put some real limitations around it. I've found in the last few weeks, I've made a rule with myself in the evening to get off my phone for at least 30 minutes before I go to bed. And it's just been so good. I've been sleeping so much better. And that helps my capacity in the long term. So get a good book. So you're actually focusing on that. And then you'll find the sleeping is possibly may help as well. So yeah, again, looking at that cognitive and mental load as well, which was our third point here. How about multitasking and interruptions? So again, I've just spoken about that. So one of the things that can happen if you're switching between tasks can consume 20% of your cognitive capacity and significantly degrade your productivity. What we also know is that if you do one task and get distracted, it can take 25 minutes to get back to the next task, back to the first task. So really think about that. You know, switching between tasks isn't that great. Focus on one, get it done, and then move on to the next if you can do that. Again, sometimes you need to be dynamic because you're working with people and all of those things as well. Have you ever wondered how you can be a fashion stylist with access to premium digital styling products? Do you want to be trained by the best in the industry and access these products that reflect fashion styling in 2025? If you do, then Image Innovators is absolutely the choice for you. This is because they have a network of over 1,000 trained fashion stylists worldwide, and you know when you work with them, you're getting the best of the best. They have evidence-based professional training offered by highly skilled facilitators that help you reach your absolute potential. This is a great alignment with Style for Life, as I in my business have used and endorsed their products for over 10 years with so many happy clients. And I'm really excited to say I'm also offering training to fashion stylists in conjunction with Image Innovators. So if you're ready to start your fashion styling training journey, then use the code BRIGHTRED25 for 10% off all products. We also have the whole decision fatigue thing. So, you know, under this cognitive and mental load, we also have what we call decision fatigue. So we have to make complex, numerous decisions in a short time. It can exhaust our mental resources, leading to impulsive or suboptimal choices. I know this happens myself. So you're running from one decision to the next decision, and we're not sure that we're making the right decisions. So that decision fatigue, often there's lots of things to be decided, can again reduce our capacity. So number 4, which we talked about earlier, we listed the 4 things that contribute to capacity decline or overload. The 4th is environmental and social factors. So yeah, this next one's really interesting. So under environmental and social factors, we have 4 topics. The first is social support. So do you have a really good network of people that support you? So you might have whānau, like you might have friends, you might have work colleagues, you might have mentors. Who have you got that supports you? So you are the sum total of the 5 closest people to you. So who are those 5 closest people? How much interaction do you have with them, and who are they? Because a lack of supportive social networks can lead to isolation, which reduces your resilience and increases your vulnerability to stress. You're not as exposed to so many other things. You're not as exposed to other people's views as much. And so you end up becoming more insular, which means your capacity reduces. And I see this a lot with older people. And then there's the confounding fact that they might be in pain or have cognitive decline because of an illness like dementia. And then their capacity reduces, they have less social support, and it's really tough for them. So, you know, there's things like this. And, you know, the other thing that can really lead into these environmental and social factors is our socio-economic status. So if you're in poverty, you have lower socioeconomic status, you have higher chronic stress, poorer health outcomes, and this can reduce cognitive capacity too. So, you just are always worrying about how to feed somebody, how to put the next meal on the table, how to pay the next bill. That can have a huge impact on your stress and means that your capacity is greatly reduced too. So we understand that this is an impact as well. Then, your workplace environment. So you have this workplace environment where you might have a lot of noise, there might be a lack of privacy, there's increased pressure, really poor management. So I do a lot of training in management and leadership. So if you're wanting to know the difference, a manager organizes the tasks like the rosters, the schedules, the pay, etc. A leader connects with their people, finds out how they are, what they're doing. So if you've got somebody who's a poor leader, it can be really stressful environment. And again, your capacity can reduce because your stress levels are always up. And we had a really, really interesting discussion last week in my leadership training. I was doing training on Thursday and Friday in Auckland, and really, really interesting discussion about, if you're at work and you have the same communication style as the people you work with, you just rub along really easily together. But say someone has a completely different communication style, they might need facts and figures and you deal with emotion. You find that your stress levels go up because you're always having to deal with their communication style, which rubs against and is the opposite to yours. So, understanding a bit about ourselves can actually help our work environment as well. So, understanding and relating to others can decrease our stress. And all of these things in a work environment can be challenging. There's environmental hazards too. So you might be exposed to pollution, overcrowding, lack of safe, accessible environments. Like, for example, as you age, and this is really hard. This comes from the World Health Organization as well. So people who maybe haven't got the resources because of in their older age, and they don't have a really good environment that supports them, like they might not have accessibility getting into their home. Yes, they can't get in and out of their home easily because of the lack of ability to afford something accessible. Yeah. And that can really impact your health and cognitive functioning. So, when I read all of this in preparation for this podcast today, it really got me thinking about my old age and my retirement and how I really want to show up there and what I need to have in place as I age. Really interesting. So number 5 is our developmental and cultural factors, and these things all add together to add to our capacity. So the first thing under development and cultural factors is education and experience. Look, and access to education opportunities for cognitive stimulation in early life enhances your cognitive potential and capacity. So you're exposed to really good education, you're exposed to lots of challenges and opportunities that really enhances your cognitive potential. And I see this so much in my absolutely amazing students that come and stay with us. They come from countries they've not often even left their country before. They're young people in their early 20s, and they come in to New Zealand for sometimes only 3 weeks to learn to speak English. And my goodness, they have limited English. They come often from Asian cultures, which are quite different from ours. And they have so much stimulation here. And some of them do great and some of them find it really hard. So it's our job to support them. But this in the end will help increase their capacity and their resilience. Then underneath developmental and cultural factors, we also have culture. So cultural values, beliefs and language affect an individual's ability to process information and make decisions. So you may have been raised in an environment where you're not challenged, you're not encouraged to ask questions. You're not encouraged to be curious about other people. Again, this can reduce your capacity because you don't necessarily understand or know about others. Or you just end up with a different belief system around how to interact with people. Or you just have differences in language and how you make decisions. This all impacts on your capacity. So how do we overcome the factors that affect your capacity? Look, it requires a holistic approach, and you need to build resilience, manage your energy, set healthy boundaries. And I think the key strategies include practicing like self-compassion. So really being a bit easy on yourself if something doesn't go quite right and coming back and trying again. Automating decisions to avoid fatigue. Can decision just be made just like that? Prioritizing physical health. Oh my goodness. I am always all over this, like getting good sleep and exercise. That comes from the reference there as Women in Leadership New Zealand. So here's some specific ways to overcome common capacity draining factors. So if we start with number 1, which is overcoming cognitive and mental overload. Have you got a lot going on? Brain dump. Oh, I think I've got things like right here, always, all the time. I'm writing down my to-do lists. I write them down. Here's another one. This one is a little more comprehensive and probably got worked through. So I just do it every day. Write down every task, worry, reminder to clear the mental clutter. I can't work until the clutter's out and it's down. Then prioritize ruthlessly. So what is actually urgent and important? What is important but not urgent? And these are the things we need to be working on all the time. Okay, then what's not important and not urgent, and then what's actually not important, not urgent, what's actually not urgent but important. So there's a whole lot of ways of looking at how to prioritize your time. So be really ruthless. Urgent and important, important but not urgent, not important. Okay, so where does it sit? And then, so really prioritize really ruthlessly. Limit your multitasking, focus on one task at a time so you can conserve your energy and reduce your cognitive overload. So I really do this. I sit myself down, like I know that I have podcast hour on a Monday at 1:00. I actually have some other stuff on tomorrow, so I might record another one. I've got a lot of things happening at the moment, so I want to get ahead on my podcast recording, which is, I'm sure, music to the ears of both Maxine and Leonard, who help me with my podcasts. Now, how about automating decisions? Create routines for routine tasks to save brain power for complex decisions. We have so many opportunities and options now to get things automated. So can we automate it, say, for example, putting aside our tax by using an app called Henry? The money comes in, the tax comes off, the money goes in our account. How good is that? Or actually having a routine like setting up specific days, specific times to get things done. Make sure that use AI. AI is amazing. A couple of days ago, I asked it to create me a cover for a manual. I gave it some logos and some color ideas, and boom, it's done. So automated for me. I didn't have to think a lot. The AI kind of came to it. To give AI a lot of information. So we do have tools nowadays for automating our decisions, creating routines for routine tasks. Now, number 2 here is overcoming emotional burnout and stress. So how do we do this? We practice self-compassion, be kind to ourselves, especially during setbacks. Just know that you're navigating a difficult decision. Step back and go, is anyone going to die if I don't do this? You know, that's what I ask myself. I say this to people. Can we just say, okay, like, I need to be kind to myself here. I'm actually going to give myself some time to read a book, to do whatever I need to fill my cup, and be kind to yourself. Don't be so kind to yourself that you do no exercise or don't eat healthily. Just, just if you're not doing that all the time, just keep in mind that that's okay. Set boundaries. Oh my goodness. Learn to say no to not essential tasks to protect your time and energy. Yeah. And I also saw this amazing thing on Instagram last week about all the areas of your life being in 4 burners. And you've got a burner for health and wellness, a burner for work, a burner for friends, and a burner for whānau. Right? So whānau, work, health and wellness, and friends. And sometimes the burners are up in some areas because you're really focused on them, and they're down a little bit in others. So do we need to set boundaries so that we can actually look after ourselves and make sure we can do the things that are essential or urgent and important and not urgent? People who drain you, maybe it's just not the time to hang out with them. Take a break from the news or social media. I just love a good documentary, a good mini-series, something that's kind of like out there, something difficult, something different, something that's off the usual agenda. I was watching one on Gordon Ramsay last night. Thought that was quite fascinating. Fascinated by the fact that he had 4 children, similar ages to David and I. And then about 3 years ago, he went back and had 2 more. Holy heck, I don't know if I could do that. Him and his wife felt like they had empty nest syndrome and have just gone back for 2 more. Good on them. It's a big challenge, but good on them. Then the next one is name it to tame it. So identify uncomfortable emotions in there and reduce their power to overcome you. So like, for example, to power over you. So for example, if you have got something that's really uncomfortable, figure out what it is. What is that uncomfortable emotion? What's that really, something that we're really unbearable feelings is what Charlotte, the counsellor, my fabulous friend who has a great podcast called Feel Better says. She says, think about what those unbearable feelings are. So what are they? Identify them, and then they don't overpower you. What are you really trying to avoid? Overcome physical limitations and fatigue. Really easy to say when you don't have any injuries or illnesses. I do know that when I was really sick last year, there was nothing I could do but rest. So there was no capacity for anything else because I was so sick. But if you are having some physical limitations and fatigue, and there are some things that you can help you, like prioritize sleep. Like I said, I'm now recording my sleep on my Garmin. I can compare it with my son and his girlfriend. They are right into their sleep data. So are some of my clients. So stick to a consistent sleep schedule to restore mental and physical health. You absolutely need it. There's so much out there about sleep. I can't say anymore. I might even do another podcast on sleep. Get some regular exercise. And they do say 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. The World Health Organization guidelines, I've said this so many times, and moderate intensity exercise means that you are puffing and sweating, and when you're doing it, it can be sometimes a little difficult to talk. That's what we're looking for. And add in strength training as well. So physical activity, even in short 10-minute bursts. I was reading somewhere recently where sitting is the new smoking, right? So sitting is really not good. So if you're sitting all day, get up and do 10 air squats every hour. How's that? That'll keep you moving. So regular exercise, manage energy, not just time. So work with your natural energy cycles, doing your difficult things when you are the most alert. I know I'm best in the morning. Eat for energy, maintain a balanced diet. So you're reducing excessive sugar and caffeine that leads to crashes. So, add some of those fruit and vegetables and healthy fats and good lean proteins into your diet so that you are managing a balanced diet and reducing sugar. Sugar is not good. I love sugar. I can't say that I don't, and I really struggle to not eat it. So I have to really work hard at that. Some people find that caffeine's their thing, but just maintaining a balanced diet. Then number 4 is overcoming the environmental and social limitations. So build a support network. Turn up that burner with friends and family that provide that emotional support. You need someone in your life to help you. Even if you're an introvert, you still need people around you to support and help you. Really, really important to have that support network. Delegate tasks, share the tasks at home rather than trying to do everything yourself. We share the mental load at home. Dave does all the cooking because he loves it, and I'm working usually around dinner times. He does all the cooking, but we share lots of the other stuff. If it needs doing, someone just empties the rubbish, someone just does the laundry, someone puts it out, someone gets it in. If you are stuck, get professional help. If you've got trauma, reach out to a mental health professional. I know that in times of my life where things have been really difficult, I have had therapy. I have a fabulous therapist. She's called Faith Moon, and she's based out of Wanaka. She is great. Google her if you want. She is quite busy, but she has been my therapist for over 5 years, and she helps me unpack stuff, helps get me on track, helps dig deep into all of the things that might be happening for me. So, personally, I love that. Number 5 is how do we build long-term resilience? Now I haven't done a lot of talking about resilience here because I know there's some really great experts out there in this field. Adopt a growth mindset. View challenges as opportunities rather than insurmountable obstacles. So I know that for me, starting off stylist training was a new thing. I obviously know the material, but it was a big new project. So, that's how we build resilience, by fighting hard through the process, succeeding and getting to the other side, and sometimes having a few failures along the way too. Reflect and learn. Think back on your past experiences. Identify what coping mechanisms worked for you. What did you use in the past? What can you pull out of your kete again? Then find some purpose in your activities that bring you joy. I love reading, just get so much joy out of it. I actually love running as well. And all of these things here, all of these strategies, you can shift from enduring high stress situations to actively managing and expanding your capacity to thrive. So I have just given you such a big information dump. There's so much in it. So I think the key points to remember here is capacity is affected by a number of factors, and how we tackle or address these factors depends on what they are. So biological and physical health factors is number 1. That's how That's number one. The second is psychological and emotional factors. Then also looking at a cognitive and mental load, and moving from that to environmental and social factors have a huge impact, and so do developmental and cultural factors. And then obviously to overcome some of these things, we want to look at how to overcome cognitive and mental overload, how to overcome emotional burnout and stress, how to overcome physical limitations and fatigue, and then obviously, again, overcoming environmental and social limitations, and then we looked at building long-term resilience. I hope that's helpful. There's so much gold in here. I'll make sure the show notes are quite comprehensive this week. And I really thank you for listening. I'm really grateful to you all for being part of this crazy podcast journey, because it has been relatively crazy, and I appreciate every single one of you. And if you do want to get my help in any of the areas in which I do work, I'd love to help you. If you need some fashion styling help, if you want some help to be accountable to some of your health goals, I can help you with that. Or if you just need some education for your staff, I'm here. So kia kaha, everybody. Have a wonderful week. And once again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to the Style for Life podcast. Don't forget, you deserve to feel fabulous at every age, every stage, and at every size. If you're loving the show, hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps more amazing people like you find their way back to life through style. Thanks again. Until next time.